Hey guys, Bonzichun here, back at you in another video, and today I'm gonna be talking over about two topics here. First one being Tapu Lele and Shaman, and the second one being state of the meta and where we're going. So first off, Tapu Lele versus Shaman. In my own personal testing, I have found running more copies of Tapu Lele over Shaman to be beneficial, and I might dare to say better. I will have to do more testing and also wait to see what Seattle and other regionals going forward look like. But first impressions, though, Tapu Lele is definitely going to be not necessarily better, but has its bit more uses over Shaman. Tapu Lele, while being when most decks will become a bench sitter, it's not a hugely liable bench sitter because of its higher HP. 170 HP, while being not an impossible number to hit, it is definitely a harder number to hit over 110, which is Shaman's HP. For a Tapu Lele to get knocked out in one shot by a deck like Volcanion, they would have to have all 4 Volcanion EXs on the bench, plus it's a Volcanion in the active, a Choice Band, and for the 4 Fire Energy for the Steam Ups. So that's 10 cards they have to have in play to knock out a Tapu Lele GX. And while not impossible, is extremely difficult. You know, it's not. But then again, this is Volcanion we're talking about, and the decks are very consistent and can do it. But at the same time, you know, do we have other cards available to counter that strategy? Like we have Team Skullgrunt to get rid of those 2 energies out of their decks. You know, we have things like, you know, Hexmaniac to shut down those abilities. You know. Well, you know, Shaman, though, while also being a bench sitter and with lower HP, gives you more of an explosive start than Tapu Lele, because you can, you know, very easily draw through a lot of your deck with Shaman. In the first few turns, you know, you can get down to low amount of cards and then Shaman and draw 6 more, or, you know, 4 more. Oftentimes you'll draw somewhere between 3 and 4 off of a Shaman and then still be able to use a supporter. If you're playing a deck like Mega Ray or Mega Gardevoir, most of those decks will play 4 Shamans and just go off. And then they can do some degenerate things like use Tapu Lele and Hexmaniac on the first turn, and your opponent will just cry after you do that. Also, you know, there's things like Malo, which, you know, you can use, you know, Shaman. You can play to Malo, then Shaman, and grab whatever 2 cards you want and draw into them, and, you know, do some really degenerate things that way. You know, you can grab Spirit Links, you can grab Megas, you can grab, you know, energy, anything you want, put it on top, and then, you know, Shaman into it. You know, what 2 cards do you really need right now? That's what you can ask yourself when you play that card. Also, Tapu Lele has made some supporters that used to never see playable now. You know, Bridget, which used to be considered bad because you had to run multiple copies of it in order for it to work, is now all of a sudden better because you can just Tapu Lele for it, play Bridget, and put 3 GXs on your bench. It doesn't say you can't play GXs, just EXs. You know, you can grab 3 Drampas, you can grab 3 Tauroses, you can grab, you know, 3 Laprases, and just, you know, be set up and ready to go pretty quickly. You know, if you're playing Quad Lapras, I think playing Bridget with the Tapu Lele now is actually worth it. If you can hit the Tapu Lele consistently, you know, you can bridge it for a lot of cards, you know. Also, I think playing, you know, this and some other decks is pretty good too, especially some slower decks. Things like, you know, Golly Spot, if that ever becomes popular. Lurantis definitely can benefit from Bridget. You know, they can, you know, Bridget out 3 the Fomantises, and then, you know, if they have Lurantis in hand, or just draw straight in them because they have Force of Giant Plants. So overall, Tapu Lele, I think, in a lot of cases, is going to be running more Tapu Leles versus more Shamans is a better choice than running for more Shamans than Tapu Leles. That's just my overall opinion. Next up, we're going to talk about where the meta is going and what I think of it. We are definitely moving to a slower format. We all knew that as soon as we saw Sun and Moon's card set list announced. We were moving into a slower format, especially after our rotation, because we are going to lose things like Shaman, we are going to lose things like VS Seeker, Lysander, and what's the other big one? Trainer's Mail. We're losing, also as Max Elixir, we're losing a lot of really high impact, high aggro cards that like decks just go off really quickly. Things like Turbo Dark go off really fast. Things like Decidueye with Force with Force of Giants Planets can be rotated out. Decidueye going to see a little bit sort of slow down. And I think Shaman is just great. Losing Shaman and all those other cards is a healthy shake-up to the standard format. But based off the cards that we got in Guardians Rising and the cards that we got in Sun and Moon Base, we are definitely moving into a lot slower of a format. And more of a control-style format. If you guys aren't familiar with what control is, basically you are controlling and dictating what your opponent can do on their turn. We have things like Drampa that dictate this. You know, for a single colorless energy, you can discard a special energy from your opponent's active Pokemon, which is really good because there's a lot of decks out that are really popular right now that run things like DCE, things like Mega Ray, Tauros, some versions of Darkrai, any Dragon deck. Which, let's be honest, only Dragon deck that's really ever seen any plays Dark Dragons. But also Berserk is another thing too, is that if you have any damage counters on your bench, it does 150, which is a lot of damage to watch out for. Things like Tauros GX control what your opponent can do because if you put this in the active, they don't want to touch it. Because, there's that magic number where Tauros is doing a lot of damage and you can't really do anything about it. The magic number being, somewhere around the neighborhood of 100. Where it can do a lot of damage really quick. And also Mad Bull GX is another magic number to watch out for because, let's see, 30 times, 5, that's 150 damage. That's something you don't want to poke the bull and make be angry. But yes, Tauros, another control card. Things like Umbreon, we've seen things like this combined with Wobbuffet to strafe in and out of the Wobbuffet to lock you out of abilities, as well as this Dark Claw GX. That you can discard 2 of your opponent's energy, controlling what your opponent can do on their next turn. Things like Sylveon GX, while indicative of itself, is not a control card, but its Magical Ribbon attack leads it to a control playstyle because you can basically ask yourself, what 3 cards do I need from my deck to make my opponent's life a living hell on my next turn? Things like Crushing Hammer, things like Delinquent, things like Red Card. There's always that cheesy thing where you can grab a red card and a Delinquent, play the red card, then play the Delinquent, and your opponent is down to 1 card essentially in top deck mode. Plea GX is also not bad. You can attach your opponent has to pick up all their Pokemon and pick up 2 Pokemon and all cards attached to them. This could screw up things like the Decidueye late game if you manage to bump all their forests. It can screw up things like what's the other deck? What's that other deck? You could play, what's that card? Oh, what's the other thing I thought this thing could screw with? Oh yeah, it could screw with any deck that requires a lot of high energy, like Turbo Dark. If they have 3-4 energy sitting on a Darkrai, you make them pick up that Darkrai and have to reattach all the energy manually. Because if those energies are sitting in their hand, they can't Max Elixir them. They can't, generate things with Max Elixir. Cards like Sudowoodo, which limit your opponent's bench and become a bench sitter itself, are awesome because, once we lose Parallel City, Sudowoodo becomes the next best replacement. Also, limiting your opponent's bench space is also an awesome thing to do because a lot of people will play Shaman, and then be stuck with Shamans on their bench and not be able to play any more Pokemon. They'll have to turn off this ability, but as soon as the ability comes back on, they have to discard a Pokemon. You can also start licensing off easy targets off their bench. A card like Alolan Muck, which is basically a Silent Lab with a body, is really good, I think, and a card that a lot of people are sleeping on because now we have a lot of evolution Pokemon with abilities, and Alolan Muck all of a sudden becomes a little bit better because but then again, people always ask you, well, why don't you just play Silent Lab? Well, once we lose Silent Lab in rotation, the Alolan Muck becomes a lot better. Also you can combine Alolan Muck with your own other stadium that things like Raichu can play Alolan Muck and still use a Sky Field and shut down their opponent's abilities. You can play things like Octillery and still draw cards while your opponent can't. You can shut down things like Decidueye. You can't, well, not Decidueye. You shut down Volcanion and slow them down really heavily. I think Alolan Muck is definitely a good card that people are sleeping on. And also, if they're gonna waste resources to take out a Grimer on your bench, that's a win-win for you because they spent resources taking out a Grimer. So yeah, another card that is scary is Garbodor. I think this card will single-handedly change the way we build decks. Trash Lance just 20 damage times each energy card in your discard pile, in your opponent's discard pile. Oh, excuse me, guys. And, the way decks are built right now, you play 4 Ultra Balls, 4 VS Seekers, 4 Trainer's Mails. And, that's 12 items right there that you could very easily have in your discard pile. On top of things like Super Rod, Special Charge, Field Blower, Aqua Patch applying water, Max Elixirs if you're playing a deck that requires Max Elixirs. All tool cards are considered item cards. Those items add up really quickly, and mid to late game, Garbodor can be hitting 150, 200 damage easily. With a choice band, making that damage go up even more. So, Garbodor is scary. I feel like if Garbodor starts seeing a lot of play, people are going to have to change the way they build decks and run more supporters or more Pokemon. We have a lot of Pokemon that have abilities when they evolve. So, like for example, Lycanroc, becomes a Lysander. Sazzle becomes a Hypnotoxic Laser. Well, not really Hypnotoxic Laser, but, kind of a similar thing. Make them be poisoned and burned. We have things like a lot of Pokemon have attacks that replace items, like Drampa becomes an Enhanced Hammer. Espeon GX becomes a Confusion card. There's a lot of things that people aren't exploring yet because everyone's just stuck in their ways and not really trying out new things. Also, another control card is Field Blower. Your opponent's gonna have to hold those stadiums and hold those tool cards until they think you're out of Field Blowers. Or they're going to have to wait and use those tool cards when they're actually going to do stuff. People aren't just going to set a choice band and forget about it. They're going to play that choice band when they're going to attack. So Field Blower in existence, just being a card being in existence, is going to change the way you play the game. It also makes things like any Mega deck have to play a lot more carefully and not, just set and forget those Spirit Links, Turbo Dark is probably going to end up dropping, EXP share because, those passive tool cards are no longer as important. Fighting Fury Belt now something becomes a lot worse because of Field Blower, because Fighting Fury Belt itself is a passive tool card. You're not using it. It doesn't give you immediate effect. 40 HP plus 10 damage is not exactly great when Field Blower exists because they can just Field Blower off that 40 HP. It makes things a lot worse for you. So, Field Blower is a thing, and then also, Field Blower is great because it, now, people aren't necessarily going to be able to play Floatstone now, so, for example, a lot of people would play Floatstone onto, their Hoopas and their Volcanions. Well, all of a sudden, you can Lysander and Field Blower and take away their tool cards. Decks that play and expanded that play Keldeo are no longer going to be able to leave a Floatstone on Keldeo for very long. And you can just, Lysander out the Keldeo and Field Blower, and that Keldeo is stuck in the active. And a lot of decks don't have a way to attack with Keldeo or even retreat it. That's a lot of energy they'll have to waste to retreat that Keldeo. We have other control cards we have are, Team Skullgrunt, discarding your opponent's energy from their hand. Things like Crushing Hammer, Enhanced Hammer, all discard energy. Midday Lycanroc, makes discards energy. So, post-rotation, we're going to be in a lot slower, more control-oriented format. And, guys, I like it. And here's why I like it. But, I've always used that term, playing solitaire. There's a lot of decks that were popular that you felt like your opponent was just kind of, going through the motions until they get set up. Well, now if we move to a more control-style format, it's going to change the way you build decks. It's going to change the way you play against your opponent. It makes... control style play makes the game more interactive, and also makes the good players shine. No longer are you going to have people who just have to play. It's no longer going to be about, this deck is weak to this deck is weak to that. It's like, okay, I have a slightly unfavorable matchup, but here's how I can win that matchup. Over a control style format is something I would love to see in Pokemon. It would, although I think it might be a little bit boring to watch, or the games are going to be a lot longer. But as a player, it makes me really happy. So let me know what you guys think of, Tapu Lele versus Shaman and where the format is heading to. down in the comments below. Please like and comment and subscribe, guys. It helps us out a lot. It helps us keeps us motivated to keep the channel going. And also, until then, peace out. Check you guys next time. In the expanded format, looking at a very popular and very strong deck known as the Veltal Maxis. Now, this is quite arguably the best.